Some of the most important inventions in history were not the result of years of careful planning. They were complete accidents. A moment of pure luck, a happy little mistake, or a curious mind simply noticing something strange. Today, 6 world-changing discoveries that happened entirely by accident. We have got a moldy dish that launched modern medicine, a melted chocolate bar that gave us the microwave oven, and a glue that completely failed, only to become one of the best-selling office products of all time. Let's get into it. We start with an accident that has saved hundreds of millions of lives. In 1928, a Scottish scientist named Alexander Fleming was studying bacteria at his laboratory in London. Now, Fleming was, by his own admission, a rather messy worker. Before leaving for a 2-week summer holiday, he left a stack of petri dishes full of bacteria piled up on his lab bench. When he returned, he began sorting through the dishes and noticed something very strange in one of them. A spot of mold had grown on the dish, likely from a stray spore that had drifted in through a window. But the truly remarkable thing was what surrounded that mold. In a clear ring all around it, the bacteria had been completely killed off. The mold was producing some kind of substance that destroyed the bacteria. Fleming had accidentally discovered the world's first antibiotic. He named it Penicillin. It would go on to completely revolutionize medicine, turning once deadly infections into easily treatable conditions and earning Fleming a Nobel Prize. And it all started simply because he forgot to clean up before going on vacation. Our next invention was discovered thanks to a melting chocolate bar. In 1945, an American engineer named Percy Spencer was working for a company that built magnetrons, the powerful devices that generate the microwaves used in radar systems. One day, while standing right in front of an active radar set, Spencer noticed something rather odd. The chocolate bar in his pocket had suddenly melted into a gooey mess. Now, most people would have simply been annoyed. But Percy Spencer was curious. He suspected that the invisible microwave energy coming from the radar was somehow the cause. So, he decided to test his theory. He placed some popcorn kernels in front of the device and watched in delight as they popped all over the lab. Next, he tried cooking an egg, which promptly exploded. Spencer realized that he had stumbled upon a brand new way to cook food using microwaves. His company patented the idea, and within just a couple of years, the very first microwave oven was born. That one accidental melted chocolate bar led to an appliance now found in kitchens all over the world. In 1895, a German physicist named Wilhelm Röntgen made a discovery that would let doctors see inside the living human body. Röntgen was experimenting in his lab with a cathode ray tube, a glass tube that shoots out beams of electrons. He had carefully covered the entire tube in thick black cardboard to block all of its light. But when he switched it on, there in the darkened room, he noticed something that seemed impossible. A small screen on a bench several feet away was glowing with a faint green light. Some invisible, unknown ray was passing straight through the cardboard and lighting up the screen. Fascinated, Röntgen experimented for weeks. He found that these mysterious rays could pass right through many solid objects, but not others. And because he had absolutely no idea what they were, he simply named them X-rays, the letter X standing for unknown. To test it further, he asked his wife to place her hand in front of the ray. The result was the world's first X-ray image, clearly showing the bones of her hand and her wedding ring. Reportedly, she looked at the image of her own skeleton and exclaimed, "I have seen my death." This next invention was inspired by an annoying walk in the woods. In the early 1940s, a Swiss engineer named Georges de Mestral returned home from a hunting trip in the mountains with his dog. As usual, he found his clothes and his dog's fur completely covered in burrs, those prickly little seed pods that cling to everything. But this time, Instead of just picking them off in frustration, de Mestral became curious. He placed one of the burrs under his microscope to see exactly how it worked, and what he saw was ingenious. The burr was covered in hundreds of tiny hooks, which allowed it to grab firmly onto the small loops in fabric and in fur. De Mestral realized that he could copy nature's clever design. If he could create one strip covered in tiny hooks and another strip covered in tiny loops, they would stick firmly together and yet peel right apart on command. After years of experimenting, he finally perfected his invention using nylon, and he named it Velcro. Today, that simple idea, copied directly from a plant, is used on everything from children's shoes to astronaut spacesuits. Our next accident became one of the most beloved toys in all of history. In 1943, an American naval engineer named Richard James was trying to solve a serious problem. He was working with special tension springs, attempting to design a device that could keep sensitive instruments steady on rough seas aboard Navy ships. One day, while he was working, he accidentally knocked one of his springs off of a shelf. But instead of just clattering to the floor in a heap, something almost magical happened. The spring seemed to walk. It gracefully stepped end over end from the shelf down onto a stack of books, then onto the table, and finally onto the floor, where it neatly stood itself back up. James was completely mesmerized. He took the spring home to his wife, Betty, and told her, "I think I can make a toy out of this." Betty found the perfect name for it by flipping through the dictionary: the Slinky. When the couple first demonstrated their toy in a department store, their entire stock of 400 Slinkies sold out in just 90 minutes. A simple walking spring had become a timeless classic. Our final invention was the surprising result of a glue that completely failed at its only job. In 1968, a scientist named Spencer Silver was working at the company 3M, trying to develop a strong, super-powerful new adhesive. But his experiment went wrong. Instead of a super glue, he had accidentally created the exact opposite: a weak, low-stick adhesive that could be peeled off easily and reused over and over without ever leaving any residue behind. At the time, it seemed completely useless, and nobody at the company had any idea what to do with it. The strange glue simply sat around for years. Then a colleague named Art Fry had a sudden moment of inspiration. Fry sang in his church choir, and he was always frustrated that the little paper bookmarks in his hymn book kept falling out. He remembered Silver's weak, useless glue and realized he could use it to make a bookmark that would stick lightly to the page and then peel away cleanly. And just like that, the idea for the Post-it note was born. That accidental, failed glue became one of the best-selling office products of all time. And there they are, 6 world-changing inventions that were never actually planned at all. A life-saving medicine from a moldy dish, the microwave oven from a melted snack, and a beloved global toy from a single fallen spring. These stories are a wonderful reminder that some of our greatest breakthroughs come not from genius alone, but from a curious mind simply paying attention to a lucky accident. If you enjoyed this one, then hit that subscribe button for more weird history every week. And tell me down in the comments which of these happy accidents surprised you the most. I'll see you in the next one.